Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Today, House Democrats unveil a stronger America, a new American security agenda to secure our nation, to secure our future, and to secure our democracy. House Republicans are sending us home early. You know, we all like the notion of three-day weekends, but House Republicans are actually giving us a 7-week weekend. And while they are abdicating their responsibility to keep the American people safe, while they're hiding from their own constituents in their own districts, House Democrats will be talking about our bold new agenda, our bold new American security agenda. Only House Democrats have a specific and pragmatic set of solutions to secure a future that is safe, that is affordable, and that is fair. This is the product of a year and a half of consensus building in our caucus. I chair the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, appointed by the leader, elected by the caucus. And we have spent 1.5 years building consensus across the span of our caucus. It's the product of extensive research. And when research meets values, that's when you get priorities. When research meets values, that's when you get priorities. And these are our priorities. We're going to echo these priorities in districts across America, and we're going to echo them with discipline, we're going to echo them with conviction, we're going to echo them with vision. And I'd like to turn it over to the hard-working chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Ben Ray Lujan.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chairman Israel, for your hard work and your leadership and bringing the caucus together on this. Of course, to our leadership team, Leader Pelosi, Whip Hoyer, Assistant Leader Clyburn, Chairman Becerra, and Vice Chairman Crowley, thank you each for your leadership. This is an agenda that is driven by members of our caucus, one that reflects the diversity and experience, background, and cultures that are the strength of the Democratic caucus and our nation. This agenda is united around a simple principle of building a stronger America. This stands in stark contrast to the dismal record of House Republicans, one that is defined by all that Republicans have failed to do on behalf of the American people. Instead of providing meaningful funding to combat Zika, the opioid epidemic, or at least allowing a vote to keep guns out of the hands of suspected terrorists, House Republicans are ready to leave for a 7-week recess. This is an unfair and utter failure when it comes to solving problems and having the backs of hardworking people everywhere. As a result of House Republicans' inaction and obstruction, the American people feel that they are unsafe, that things are unaffordable, and that the system is unfair. While House Republicans are falling in line behind Donald Trump, this is sad because Trump's agenda is one based on bigotry and hatred, dividing Americans instead of bringing us together. And while House Republicans are putting party over country, House Democrats have a plan that puts people over politics by securing our nation, securing our future, and securing our democracy. I'll now recognize Congressman Seth Moulton.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you today. Our core responsibility as leaders and members of Congress is to protect the American people. A responsibility that has never been more serious, and a responsibility that Democrats are doubling down on with this agenda. Americans want leaders who have the courage to address the serious threats we face as a nation. But unfortunately, House Republicans have not been leading with courage. With courage, the willingness to put priorities ahead of politics, and especially not on matters of foreign policy and national security. That's why this agenda and this election are so important. And as part of this agenda, Democrats will enact common sense gun reform laws like no fly, no buy. If you're too dangerous to fly on an airplane in America, you're too dangerous to buy a gun. Like ensuring that our brave men and women on the front lines have the resources they need to protect our country and to protect themselves. When I deployed to Iraq on my second deployment, I was issued a Humvee, with cutout metal doors as armor against IEDs. That's not sufficient to protect our troops. That's not what House Democrats will bring to the troops serving bravely on the front lines overseas. In a world of IEDs, in a world of terrorists, in a world of asymmetric threats across the globe, we need to arm our brave young men and women with everything they need to keep us safe. We will also provide additional funding right here at home to the FBI to enhance their counterterror efforts to keep us safe on the home front. And lastly, we must work with our allies to stop online radicalization, not just in places like Syria and Iraq, but across the globe and even here at home. These policy proposals are common sense reforms aimed at keeping the American people safe. And now it's my honor to introduce Congresswoman Robin Kelly from Illinois.
Thank you, and good afternoon. As you've heard and will hear, our job is to protect our citizens. If you are too dangerous to fly, you are certainly too dangerous to buy a gun. And yet, under the current law, the FBI nor the Attorney General are allowed to prevent suspected terrorists from buying lethal firearms. Since 2004, nearly 2,500 suspects, yes, I said 2,500, on the FBI's terrorist watch list have been able to purchase weapons in the United States. 91% of all the suspected terrorists who attempted to buy a gun in the last 12 years purchased the weapon they wanted. Democrats are committed to passing two bipartisan bills. No Fly, No Buy, H.R. 1076, would close a dangerous loophole that allows terrorist suspects to legally buy deadly weapons. This legislation has the support of 85% of the American people. The other piece of legislation is the bipartisan King-Thompson background check bill, which closes the background check loophole by requiring background checks for all commercial gun sales, such as those made over the internet or at gun shows. Democrats are listening to the American people. I ask my Republican colleagues to also listen. It is time to take action. It is not the time to leave. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Eric Swalwell, from the great state of California.
Thank you, Robin. Last year, Leader Pelosi chartered Future Forum, and we took 18 of the youngest House Democrats and have visited 15 cities across the country talking to and engaging with thousands of millennials. Here's what we heard. They want investments in public infrastructure. They want us to close the skills gap and make sure we invest in STEM education in the classroom. And they think we should pay for it by not allowing businesses to offshore their businesses and benefit from it in the tax structures that House Republicans have set up today. But the most crushing issue for young people is actually student loan debt. $1.3 trillion in student loan debt has put 40 million young people in financial quicksand. What we also found, though, is it's a family matter. I'll never forget Seth Moulton and I in the Boston area talking to about 200 young scientists, and one person peeks out of the corner of the room, and she says, I know I'm not supposed to be here. This is a millennial event. But I'm worried about my daughter, and that's why I came. She was the first in our family to go to college. We saved up for her. We were sad to see her off, missed her while she was gone, but didn't expect her to boomerang back home. And now we're paying for her because she can't afford her student loan debt. And this is the same time that our own parents, her grandparents, are living in costly assisted living facilities. Student loan debt is a family matter, and Republicans offer nothing to that mother or millions of families like her. What we're offering is allowing people to refinance their student loan debt, to increase the interest you can deduct, and make sure that Pell Grants are year-round. We have solutions for the thousands of young people we've talked to. Republicans have given them nothing. And with that, I would like to introduce my colleague from Illinois, Jan Schakowsky.
Thank you, Eric. The last chapter of the American Dream reads, if you work hard all your life, you can retire with independence and dignity. Yet today, 86% of Americans agree that we face a retirement crisis, and they're right. 45% of households, 40 million working Americans, have no retirement assets at all. The average retirement savings is $2,500 to $14,500 for those who are actually approaching the age of 65. Millions of Americans live with this insecurity, with the fear that they will never be able to retire, or that they will become a burden to their children or grandchildren if they do. Democrats stand strong in fighting for retirement security, and that's why we're committed to not only protecting, but expanding Social Security's earned benefits. And it's why we are pushing so hard for paycheck fairness. Look, women are the primary or co-breadwinners in 6 out of 10 U.S. families, but they still, on average, earn 79 cents for every dollar paid to men. Women of color receive even less. Wage discrimination harms women and their families today, and it carries forward into retirement through lower Social Security benefits and lower savings. It's one reason that older women are 80% more likely to live in poverty than men. The Democratic plan to improve your future, we say to Americans, ending wage discrimination, raising wages, protecting and expanding Social Security's earned benefits. And now, John Sarbanes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Leader Pelosi and Chairman Israel, for pulling us together in support of the new American security agenda. These are the issues Americans care about most, and Democrats stand ready to carry them forward. Securing our democracy is a critical part of this agenda. Too many Americans feel that the kind of government our founding fathers envisioned, a government of, by, and for the people, is slipping away. We must take bold steps to reclaim and secure our democracy. That's why House Democrats have embraced a by-the-people package of legislative reforms that will revitalize our nation's voting laws, restore sanity to the regulations that govern our elections, and empower everyday Americans to reclaim their voice in the political process. As my colleague, Mr. Clyburn, will detail in a moment, Democrats believe that no matter one's race, color, creed, the right to vote is sacrosanct and should not be blocked, diminished, or diluted. Democrats know that the rise of secret money and unlimited outside spending by unaccountable super PACs is eroding the public's trust in our elections. That is why we are striving to eliminate secret money in our politics and rein in unaccountable super PACs by passing the Disclose Act and overturning Citizens United. And Democrats recognize that the public feels powerless and left out, that the wealthy and well-connected have too much influence over our politics, that big donors use our outdated campaign finance reform system to warp the candidate field and to influence the policy agenda in Congress. That's why we are putting forward reform proposals like the Government by the People Act to build a democracy of the many, not the money. The By the People legislative package is a statement to every American that Democrats get it. We hear your frustration and are working to restore your voice in your democracy. In the weeks and months ahead, I look forward to joining my colleagues in securing our democracy and advancing this bold vision for a stronger America. It's my pleasure to introduce Jim Clyburn.
Thank you very much. For more than 50 years, the Voting Rights Act ensured that no American's right to vote could be denied based on their race. Today, that right is under attack in states and communities all across the country. Since 2010, 22 states have put in new restrictions, making it harder for people to vote. The right to vote is basic to our democracy. Without action by Congress, 2016 will be the first presidential election in over half a century that Americans will not have the full protection of the Voting Rights Act. The coordinated attack on voting rights is a direct threat to the strength of our democracy. The Democratic agenda includes restoring and strengthening the Voting Rights Act. Americans are also demanding comprehensive immigration reform. Democrats support common sense legislation that does three simple things. Number one, secures our border. Number two, brings millions of workers out of the shadows. And number three, keeps families together. Voting rights and comprehensive immigration reform are essential elements of the House Democrats' new American security agenda. And I'm pleased to present my longtime friend, Whip Steny Hoyer.
Thank you very much, Assistant Leader Clyburn. Steve Israel, thank you very much for your leadership in putting together an agenda for a stronger America, stronger families, a stronger community. Leader Pelosi, thank you for your leadership. This agenda shows what we would do if Americans ask us to lead the next Congress. We want to build a stronger America by making it a more secure America. As you've just heard, this agenda includes securing our nation, securing our democracy, and securing our future. That is what the members who have preceded me at this dais have been talking about. If we do those things, everybody in our country will make it in America. That's why House Democrats announced a new Make It in America plan last month. We want to make a real difference for businesses, workers, by expanding entrepreneurship and innovation. We've talked about that. Closing the skill gaps. We've talked about that. Building 21st century infrastructure and breaking down barriers to manufacturing in the United States. We believe the American people are ready to reject Donald Trump and his House Republican enablers and put Congress back in the hands of those who are serious about governing, addressing real issues that will make us a stronger, more secure, more confident country. Now I'm pleased to turn the microphone over to our leader, and we hope the next Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi of California.
Thank you, Mr. Hoyer, and thank you, my colleagues. Congressman Steve Israel, members of the House Democratic Policy and Communications Committee who are gathered behind us here and who are listed on the back of this beautiful brochure. Isn't it lovely? Not lovely just visually, but lovely in what it talks about, keeping America number one. The stronger America, securing our nation, securing our future, securing our democracy. This is what House Democrats are fighting for in the Congress every day. House Democrats' Stronger America agenda is built on specific and pragmatic solutions to the challenges facing the American people today. Democrats are fighting for a strong, smart action to bolster our security abroad and keep us safe in our neighborhoods. It's the oath of office that we take to protect and defend. We are fighting to create innovative platforms to raise wages and create good-paying jobs with workers' rights so families can buy a home, pay for college, and save for retirement. We are fighting to overturn Citizens United and end the poisonous influence of secret dark money to ensure that all Americans' voices are truly heard in our democracy. We are very fortunate because our founders were so brilliant. They sacrificed everything for a democracy, a government of the many, not a government of the money, as Mr. Sarbanes mentioned. It has an impact, money does, on policies. That's why it's very important to turn that back. And so to honor the vows of our founders, their vows of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, to honor the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, who make us a home of the brave and the land of the free, and to fulfill the aspirations of our children, Democrats are fighting for a stronger America, securing our nation, securing our future, and securing our democracy. And with that, I once again yield back to our distinguished chair of the Policy Committee and thank him for his leadership and thank all who participated, including Mr. Lujan, in terms of establishing these priorities. Thank you again, Mr. Israel.
Thank you, Leader. Just to close it out, I do want to thank the members of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee. They met every single Thursday morning, 8 a.m., 30 meetings, but most importantly, they fanned out across the caucus, met with our colleagues, and got 187 Democrats to agree on a stronger America, securing our nation, securing our future, securing our democracy. And you will hear those three things echoed with discipline and consistency at least over the next 7 to 8 weeks and on into the fall. And I want to thank the leader for entrusting us with this important project. I'm very confident that it's going to do very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.